Yugioh is too woke.
Millennial participation packs. Gen Z generator players being way too sensitive about not drawing the field spell. I asked you to give me your most stern, matter-of-fact, cry-about-it take, from top-heavy price support to skill issue. Here are the responses. I asked you for your least woke Yu-Gi-Oh opinion. If you complain about the power level of a deck like Blue Eyes, you should quit the game. Complaining about the power level of Blue Eyes is like complaining about the rook in chess. Like, yeah, it's good. It can go across the entire board, but it's not that versatile. And I don't know where I was going with that. Listen, it's just a regular modern Yu-Gi-Oh deck. If you don't like playing against Blue Eyes, you just don't like playing modern Yu-Gi-Oh. Oh no, some hand traps. It ends on like 2 negates maybe. Relax, all right? Go do something else if you don't like Blue Eyes. Least woke? There are a significant amount of people in the community that actually have a straight up victim mentality. Jump to justify every misplay, every loss is the fault of the deck or the meta and getting sacked, unwilling to put any effort into improving. Introspectiveness is important in anything that you wish to be better and more competitive at. If you can't accept that maybe you did something wrong, then perhaps it's time to just not be competitive, okay? Go do something else. Every single top player, the hallmarks of them, whenever you speak to them, whenever you hear them speak about their achievements, their tops and stuff, first place, and they still think about what they could have done better in terms of the deck building and stuff, even despite winning a tournament or something. You can always improve. You can always work towards making something work a little bit more efficiently in your deck, or your technical play sequencing could have been different depending on the situation, what hand trap you're trying to play around. Basically, get better at the game. Skill issue. No card in Yu-Gi-Oh! Should say that they cannot be responded to. This is a 2-player game. Let me interact with my opponent. I'm trying to understand what's like not woke about this, but sure, not being able to respond to cards, I feel like is actually quite a woke opinion. Yeah, lib found, lib encountered. What the hell does woke Yu-Gi-Oh opinion mean? Well, Jesse, a woke Yu-Gi-Oh opinion is that I think that locals should give the same prize support for first place and last place. That's called the participation locals. No one wants to go to those woke locals, all right? First place should win everything, basically. I think those cowards need to add more topless men to the game. I think this is like very woke, actually. More topless men need to be in Yu-Gi-Oh! Listen, as long as they don't fusion summon or contact into a dragon Lenitus, I'm okay with that. 99% of the players in this game's opinion on the ban list are awful and should never be considered, myself included. The ban list should be catered to those who are winning events to create the best environment for them. The rest of us aren't important when considering the game balance. Ooh, is that controversial? Ooh, is that controversial? Here's the way to look at it, okay? Because on the one hand, you could argue that, oh, well, are you saying that the majority of mid-core, casual competitive Yu-Gi-Oh players don't have an opinion on the ban list? Well, actually, yes. Because what is occurring at the highest level of Yu-Gi-Oh, in terms of the skill that is being displayed there, is the hallmark for the competitive card game. So, in order to balance that meta, the top tier meta of the game, you balance around the top best decks and players and what they've come up with in a format, because that always trickles down. Because everyone is net decking them, everyone is copying them, even at the middle level, even at like the casual level to an extent. Because even if you're at the bottom in the level of the casual totem pole of Yu-Gi-Oh, you gotta ask yourself this question. The ban list doesn't even apply to you anyway at this super casual level. Most people don't even use a ban list, and even if they do, you're playing with decks that aren't even really designed around being fair and balanced anyway. You're playing for fun, right? So I think that's kind of like the important takeaway here, as mean as this might come across. But hey, we're doing non-woke opinions, so. Anyone who wants these cards back should not be taken seriously when talking about the game. I'm a very serious person. I have a YouTube channel. You should listen to me. There shouldn't be TCG and OCG exclusives. Release the set as is. No need for completely different games. This is not a non-woke opinion. This would be the opposite, actually, because it's good that there's different separate ones, because the Japanese game is superior. They deserve better cards because they're better than us. Well, Tom, I just don't plain like Beast Warriors. That's pretty unwoke. True, Jax, true. Whenever someone submits a Table 500 replay, I should get to decide whether or not they keep their human rights. Your friend ID, don't remember, stopped playing Master till a long time. How do you submit a replay for table 500 if we can't find your replay without the ID? This doesn't make any sense. This is like filling out a form at the doctor's office and it says like, I don't know, what's your contact phone number? Don't know. Don't have a phone anymore. Lost it. Well, what the fuck do you want them to do? How are we going to find your replay? How are we going to contact you? What do you mean? The Mulcharmies are nowhere near close to Maxie's power level and they have nowhere near the same influence on the game that Maxie does. I mean, Maxie is its own league. So Maxie is a 100 on the scale of broken. Mulcharmy Fuelos is like, I don't know, like a 75, like an 80. Like, yeah, it's less, but it's still really good. Especially in some situations, in some decks, you just lose to a Mulcharmy, like instantly. I don't know, dude. There's too many new sets coming out all the time. We need to build a wall to prevent new cards from coming in because they're taking our jobs and stealing our money. Which deck do you think has taken most of our typings in this? It's the Cyberse. There's so many of them. They're the newest type in Yu-Gi-Oh! Right? I think Cyberse are? There's just so many of them. Where did they all come from? Did you know that there's more Cyberse in Yu-Gi-Oh! Than there are of our OG original indigenous rock monsters? Why? Why is there more? How did that happen? Have the rocks been replaced? Pricing should improve. That's a woke opinion. Non-woke opinion should be go get a job. I think you guys haven't really understood the question. Your least woke opinion, asking for better pricing, is extremely woke. You're a millennial. You want participation prizes. A real conservative like myself would say pricing should get worse. In fact, you should pay to play. Well, I guess you do pay to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Fuck, I don't know where I was going with that. No, you should pay to win Yu-Gi-Oh! I suppose you could argue Yu-Gi-Oh! Is pay to win in some aspect. If you win a YCS, you have to pay last place. You have to buy him a Switch or something. I don't know where I was going with that. Right, let's move on. Konami needs to make an archetype based on her waking up and realizing she needs to do something. Yeah, very not woke of you. Time rules are an issue, but I'd say the bigger issue for most players is telling their opponent to speed up. Even I struggle with it, but if you're legit tight on time in a game 3 situation, you think your opponent's playing slower than before, say it. Yeah, basically, stop being a little bitch. Contest your opponent on slow playing. Tell them to hurry the fuck up. Time's a ticket. Hurry up! These games are for 2 players. Gooder take, but TCG still censoring cards is cringe. If any actual kid was still playing this godforsaken game, fuck the TCG, nuke this, and give us the OCG format with English cards. If trampolining was like an Olympic sport, like how did you go from stop censoring my boob cards to nuke the TCG? Like, we call this a disproportionate reaction. The game was a lot more fun when there wasn't 100 ways to negate your opponent's play. It allowed both players to at least play Yu-Gi-Oh! And allowed for different variety in decks. Woke. This is woke. Do you not understand? This is woke. A non-woke take on this would be that there aren't enough negates in Yu-Gi-Oh! There should be more negates. We should stop our opponent from playing the game. Not all players are equal. Not all turn 1 boards are made equal. In fact, it's really hard to do this without coming across as racist. Yu-Gi-Oh! As an IP would be far more enjoyable if a solid 90% of the fan base wasn't still mentally stuck in 2002. Bro, most of the player base is like 15 or something at this point. I mean that in every possible facet of the brand, from the game to the anime to the non-card merch. I don't know what they're trying to mean by that, though. Like, that's very open-ended, right? They haven't really made a point here, you know? Type element locks are healthy for the game and should be applied more often. That's woke. Wait, hold on. Actually, that's not woke. Yeah, you know what? You should only be allowed to summon fire monsters in your fire deck. None of this type mix. Wow, this is a terrible. I should just delete this. Decks should be more race. If you put every Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro player and every Yu-Gi-Oh! Content creator and made them fight over their ban list take, you would have the second coming of the Battle of Mid. What does this even mean? What does that even mean? An archetype having meaningful and functional locks doesn't hinder creativity, but forces people to find cards and engines that otherwise might not and never see play. Be more creative, guys? Sure. Complaining about hand traps makes you a loser. They're modern staples. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has always been that way. We used to run 10 to 20 staples in old Yu-Gi-Oh! That served as interruption and removal. Hand traps are the same. They're just increased utility to adapt to the speed of the modern game. I don't know about the first part, where if you hate hand traps, you're a loser. But it is literal fact that we have always played staples. 10, 20, whatever staples in a deck list. And now, the staples are exactly the same as GOAT format. The difference is you use them from your hand now, right? Like, that's how it works. All these defensive cards, Torrential, Mirror Force, Compulse, Bottomless, Trap Hole, whatever you used to play back in the day, literally the same now, except they're hand traps. You just use them quicker, right? So this idea that staples have ruined Yu-Gi-Oh! And stuff like that, I mean, staples have always been there. Staples have always been around. They've just sort of evolved. That's it.